If you live on Long Island and have visited the North Shore, you have probably seen a bluff. We take a look at bluffs and become familiar with them and how important they are to our geology in our next story.
Bays and oceans naturally captivate and draw humans near, as evidenced by the high degree of residential homes and business development along coastal shorelines. However, while our coastlines are beautiful, development on our shoreline does not come without a high level of risk. Bluffs are a coastal feature that are particularly vulnerable to catastrophic loss, as their physical characteristics are prone to erosion caused by tidal scour, storm events, and land uses. Infrastructure on top of or on the bluff, such as homes, porches, patios, stairways, pools, fences, and landscaping, remain continuously threatened by bluff erosion. In an effort to protect property values and associated infrastructure, millions of dollars are invested each year to mitigate the catastrophic effects of erosion and stabilize these eroding bluffs. It is important to recognize that bluff erosion and catastrophic failure cannot be predicted or completely prevented. However, the good news is that there are a number of affordable and effective management practices property owners can employ to help reduce the risk of bluff erosion. Not only are these practices simple to implement, but they are the most cost-effective means to stabilize an eroding bluff, reduce the risk of future failures, protect shoreline infrastructure, and maintain the value of your investments.
Geologically, the definition of a bluff is simply a high embankment or headland that has a very steep slope. Basically, what you have is, it's a pretty high feature in some areas, but it can range from 9 feet high to over 120 feet, depending on where you are along the shoreline. Bluffs are not forming today. They're what we call relic features because the processes that built them are no longer operating.
These bluffs are actually glacial features. They were formed over 20,000 years ago when the area was covered by ice. The ice stopped here for a while and it dumped all the material that it was carrying, that it had scraped down from Connecticut and points further north. And when it left, when these receded, it left everything from the boulders that you can see around me on the beach to fine clays and silts that are found in the bluff. So you have a remarkably mixed type of material here. Most of it is unconsolidated. It's loose. It's not held together by anything, so it's very easily erodable. And that's why we see the recession of the bluff that we do today.
Whether flanked by the Great Lakes, shaped by Long Island Sound, or buffering Cape Cod from oceanic waves, all bluffs share common features and characteristics which render them highly susceptible to erosion and innately unstable.
Well, erosion is a natural process. It's just the interaction between primarily storm waves and water levels and the bluff, and it's been occurring since the bluffs have been here over the last 22,000 years. We can see where they have receded.
The rocks that you see out there actually used to be in the bluff. So you can get an idea of what's happening here is that the shoreline is retreating as sea level rises over the long term, like it's been doing for the last 18,000 years. And then you can look up into the bluff and see some of these erratics up already are in the bluff now. But as the bluff erodes, they tend to roll down and they're left on the beach.
Well, usually you can look down the coast here, and it's where you see an exposed face of the bluff. You don't have any vegetation on it. That indicates that something is going on. Then you have to take a look at, okay, exactly what's happening. The single most important factor affecting bluff erosion here on Long Island is wave action, particularly wave action at the toe of the bluff. It's the waves are the primary agent for picking up and removing material from the toe. And once they do that, they make the whole bluff face unstable. Usually they undercut the bluff, you'll have a scarp. That's an unstable situation and the material will slide down the bluff face.
That is the problem in the majority of real erosion issues we have on Long Island, is that it's wave action at the toe of the bluff. And if you look at some of the vegetation, you can actually see that even though it's vegetated, it looks like that vegetation is moving because you can see tree trunks coming out at an angle. They're not vertical to the horizon.
In the Northeast, we have more nor'easters than we do hurricanes. We get about 7 to 11 nor'easters a year on average. During the storms, you usually have the water elevations become higher than they are during the normal tidal cycles. So you have the storm tide, and that allows the water to get up to the toe of the bluff. So you have the water level at the toe of the bluff, and then the waves on top of that can come in and they pick up and remove the material and cause some of the most severe bluff erosion.
As we have highlighted, bluff erosion is a natural and continuous process that can also be catalyzed and magnified by numerous forces, including human land use decisions. Here we share an example of property damage caused by bluff erosion over the last 50 years. We met up with a coastal property owner on the north shore of Long Island who was willing to share his story of the devastating effects of bluff erosion.
I would say conservatively 3/4 of an acre.
3/4 of an acre worth
Right.
of linear feet out.
Exactly. Yep.
So maybe 150 feet.
Probably. Yeah.
So, and over how many years was that lost?
Well, the house was built in 41.
So what we're standing in right now is the basement and
Correct.
the garage.
So I'm happy to say we have our original porch floor, and I had a beautiful roof.
It is very evident that bluff erosion can be very costly, not only from a financial perspective, but it can also take a strong and emotional toll, as you can see in this case where Jeff continues to watch his family home and property crumble due to forces of nature. Coastal erosion processes are well understood and research continues to advance. However, predicting when, where, and the magnitude of loss remains unfortunately unpredictable. In fact, the only prediction that can be made is that erosion will occur. If you would like more information on coastal bluff erosion and learn about how to maintain your bluff, please call the Suffolk County Soil and Water Conservation District at 631-852-3285 or visit www.suffolkswcd.org.
Our Long Island bluffs are spectacular. Thanks to the Suffolk County Soil and Water Conservation District for making this information available.